Namaskar and welcome to Sansad Television. I am Vishal Dahiya and you're watching our show Perspective, where we bring you detailed analysis of key national and international issues. Today we're going to talk about the changing dynamics in the social media world, specifically the social media platforms. Now, Elon Musk has announced that Twitter will charge $8 per month to verify users' accounts, claiming that this plan would solve the platform's issues with bots and trolls while creating a new revenue stream for the company. Now, the new plan's pricing will be adjusted in proportion to purchasing power parity in various countries. Twitter's blue tick or verified subscribers will also receive priority placement in replies, mentions and search as well. Verified accounts will also be able to post long videos and audios. Musk is also said to be working on a variety of proposals and the overhaul of various other policies of the social media platform Twitter. So how will these changes impact Twitter users and the overall social media ecosystem, and will it bring more credibility to these platforms? We'll try and understand all these aspects and analyze them as well. And for more on this, we're joined by a distinguished panel of experts today, all of them from the field of social media and digital world. Let me introduce them to you, beginning with Subimal. Bhattacharjee is here with us in the studio. Jain is also joining us, and so is Khushbu Jain as well. Welcome both of you as well to Sansad TV. I'll begin with you, Subimalji, and let's first start by understanding what's happening in the social media world, or in the world of social media platforms. These big companies, with whom most of the internet users are hooked, be it Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, or various other smaller companies as well. Taking a cue from what is happening vis-a-vis Twitter and the changes which are being brought in by the new owner, that is Elon Musk, how do you analyze those changes in terms of the kind of change in the entire ecosystem it might bring in the long run or in the short run as well?
Well, Vishalji, these platforms are today very dynamic media. You see all kinds of people getting an opportunity to express themselves, and those expressions, good and bad, add to the dynamics, add to the need for regulations, add to the need for seeing how this medium remain constructive and useful, and that's where every user possibly thinks that that this medium should remain palatable and somewhere where they can come and freely express. Similarly, if you see from the regulator's point of view, the concerns over the last couple of years about where is their responsibility of these platforms, do they do the right due diligence? So in all of that, I think it's very much, I could say, something evolving. There's nothing in terms of saying that this is something a stable picture. But by and large, as you have pointed out, in the last few days, as Twitter had its change of ownership, Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, finally, after different yes and no kind of stories, have finally bought it. Around the same time, even in India, we brought the changes, amendments to the intermediary guidelines.
Yes.
The European Parliament also last week brought or published the Digital Services Act, which to a great extent looks at the responsibility and due diligence of the social media networks. So we are at a point of time when this is something that everyone is thinking, the whole world is thinking about how this medium remains. So Elon Musk's taking over, the intent that he said when initially the talk said was that he wants to make it as a free medium. The content that flows through it, should not be moderated according to certain ideologies or something like that. And on top of all of that, how does the platform of Twitter remain free and even I can say bot-free network? So we are at a point of time, I think we'll have to see how this whole Twitter story unfolds. Looking the way he functions, definitely there are going to be a lot of steps that he'd want to take.
Okay.
And everyone's expectation would be that it should become a much more easier platform and a reliable platform to operate.
Okay, okay. We'll come to that part, and that's a very important part, the credibility and the content there as well. But first, bringing in Jain here. Jain, vis-a-vis these changes and a lot of changes, not only from the social media companies, but also from the governments as well, as Mr. Subimal pointed out, rules in India or rules in Europe as well. The question is that how do you analyze these changes in terms of the way they play along with each other, because it's a very dynamic medium, both technologically and in terms of users' experience as well.
Well, in a way, look, I'm happy that Twitter is going to commercialize the services. If they're promising that there will be less ads, more features, and if they want to charge a bit of fee for it, I'm all fine with it. Look, we have long become a society of freeloaders. We want everything for free in life. We don't want to pay for anything. Sab free mein chahiye. I think it's high time that we change our habits and we learn to pay. Otherwise, if we don't pay, we will continue to be a subject and a victim of data colonization campaigns of this big tech, where companies like Facebook, they will give you services for free. In return, they will take your data, hold copyrights over it, sell your data, misuse your data, use data for electoral manipulations in democracies, and do all sort of nefarious things. So it's better for a company which wants to go and make a transparent algorithm that how the content is shown, which wants to do away with any sort of political biases and maintains political impartiality as promised, and doesn't want to become a hate house, but want to become a town hall of a free speech and diverse ideas. So in that context, I think if he wants to charge a bit of revenue, it is fine. But the problem is, he wants to charge $8 for verified accounts. This is where I disagree. I think those who use Twitter for monetization and commercial gains must pay, maybe more. But those who don't use Twitter at all, rather actually contribute to the healthy Twitter and public service as a good, like activists, intellectuals. I don't think Twitter has any right to charge them. Rather, Twitter should be paying them for bringing the intellectual discourse on Twitter. Nobody would pay for their gratification or honor for their intellect and content, which blue tick is just an honor in a way. So I don't think anybody is going to pay for that. So in my opinion, I think Elon has to rethink the strategy. I think the biggest, users of Twitter commercially and otherwise, like political parties, which have been long using Twitter for running hate campaigns, political campaigns, spending billions and millions on political advertisements and revenues, they must pay, I think, not $8, but maybe $8,000 per month, because they are the ones who bring a lot of content and they're using Twitter in a way for commercial gains. Seconds are big corporates who have been using Twitter for customer care, policy feedback, advertisement, brand endorsements. And so these companies maybe should pay $800.
Okay.
But for an ordinary user, I think even if say 1 crore people were to verify themselves for Twitter Blue, what will it bring? $80 crore, which is nothing for a year for a company like Twitter. I mean, it's not even 0.5% of what is investing in 44 billion.
Okay.
So I think he has to tweak the plan and he has to make sure that Twitter does become commercial. We are happy to pay. I mean, I as an individual, I will not pay even a single penny for my verified account as an individual.
Okay.
But I'm willing to pay not $8, but even $80 for my corporate account.
Okay. Okay. But in terms of, facilities there, Jain, it's not just about verification. It's about priority in mention, in reach, and, several other aspects as well. But that apart, the question which I want to ask you right now is that Musk's claim is that, this plan of bringing in paid verification on Twitter will deal with the problem of bots. And this is something which he has raised, this concern which he has raised time and again. And this has been, also endorsed by experts across the world.
So, of course, I mean, see, these are two different things. Doing away with bots using artificial intelligence and other technology is one. And of course, suppose what if a head of a state like Narendra Modi refuses to pay $8 or $20? Will he de-verify his account? I mean, tomorrow 50 people will make fake accounts of Prime Minister and start posting all sort of rumors, which might lead to riots, market collapse, and whatever. So I think public personalities, government officials, they bring authenticity of information on Twitter. Journalists who post news, they distinguish facts from fiction, fake news from misinformation, and original facts. So I think these are the people who are keeping Twitter healthy. So they cannot be allowed to pay. For an example, so suppose if there are 1,000 people working in a TV channel like Rajya Sabha TV, And if Twitter wants to charge $8 for Rajya Sabha TV, I think you'll end up paying 1.5 crores every year for this verification of accounts. I think that money is rather well spent on equipment, salary hikes to employees and journalists. So maybe Twitter should, voluntarily, free of cost, verify 20-25 top journalists of a channel.
Okay.
For other employees, they have a right to ask to be paid. I mean, for other cameramen or other things who are not contributing to public life, but at the back end, maybe Twitter can say that if you want to get 1,000 employees verified, pay $8 for political parties. Apart from elected representatives or the head of political parties,
Okay.
every Tom, Dick and Harry is getting verified today. Of course, Twitter can ask them for $8 or $20 because they're using it for political gains.
Okay.
But for ordinary users, doing away verification will rather increase fake news rather than curbing it.
Okay. Okay. Khushbu, a very interesting aspect here, and we would like to understand, where does the law of the land stand on these aspects, because it's not that this is the first company which is bringing in paid services on its platform, but when we're talking about social media platforms, companies like Twitter, how does it interplay with the existing rules which we have? Because as some of the points made by Jain, they're pretty much valid in terms of the overall impact or the reach of the platform.
The current, in a way, if you'll see, when you're talking about blue tick and paying of the blue tick, I'll continue with where Jatin stopped. Nothing is free over internet. So practically these platforms, what they do is they take your data and you become a data subject, which is then churned and utilized in some other manner. And that's how they make money. That's the entire business of these companies which you're talking about. So I, in a way, understand that in case financial elements come in play, there can be a scenario where you can think of that you will not be a data subject. That's something which we have to wait and watch, see. But if you're not a data subject or you have an option not to be a data subject by paying, that's another, I think, one good thing which can be seen. Another benefit can be a greater accountability, transparency, and also stability of your accounts. Once you're paying, you're already been verified, comes a status that your account would not be taken away for purposes which are not known to you, and there would be a proper way because there is a contract that is entered into and there is a financial component involved into it. So stability of the account, access to Twitter analytics, additional security feature which you might come up, and also the identity theft issue can be tackled into. But coming back to direct question of yours, that when it comes to Indian laws and law which I talk about, see, you cannot unilaterally change contract or basics of a contract between user and a company at the later stage. Today is a scenario where people are hooked to that platform. It has become one of the platforms where things are driven, where entire globe is connected, including news channels, governments, all powerful people. We look upon going Twitter that what's trending, what's happening in this country, what is that specific organization is talking about. That has become practically a voice of people, voice of organization, voice of nation. So when that scenario comes at the later stage, when you say that now that you're hooked to it, I'm going to charge, that becomes slightly unreasonable, and also a contract cannot be changed unilaterally at a later stage. But at the same time, one has to understand that it's not that they are forcing you or you have to opt out of it or there will be a denial of services. No, I don't think so. Twitter is talking about that there would be a denial of services. Only thing it's talking is there would be an additional feature given to the people who would want to get a paid services. Now, amount, I'm still doubtful about that, whether it is applicable to the entire jurisdiction, because as per my understanding, I think country to country, the amount would differ with respect to what amount they're going to charge in which country. So that's one aspect. The second, I think, though this is also far-fetched, when you pay for an account, you are giving your financial credentials, and with financial credentials come the aspect that, okay, this is you only. So anything that happens wrong from that account, it becomes easy. Authenticity becomes paramount here. And at the same time, people are understanding, okay, this is practically Jatin only, or this is Khushbu only who's talking. Okay. In case something goes wrong, it's easy for anybody to track that it has come to me. So I think that's another feature or a security accountability layer which is being added to it.
Okay. And we'll come back to you, Khushbu. But Subimal, these are all in terms of issues, in terms of the kind of facilities which a user on a social media platform want to subscribe to. And we're all very conversant with these practices now, because we're all subscribers of various other platforms also in the digital world. But the bigger question, and the larger and the more important question, is something where you left your previous response, and that is the issue of credibility, as Jain was also referring to, the issue of ensuring that these platforms are not misused for spreading rumors, misinformation, or hate speech as well. How do you think that can be dealt with effectively? And is there a sort of a hint, do you see, in these sort of, churning or changes which we are hearing now, or which are being talked about?
No, I think, to an extent, as Jain and Khushbu has also brought out, that, you are trying to verify an account. Of course, you are doing it even right now. Possibly, to my mind, that was a little bit subjective. They asked you a few questions, and if somebody behind in Twitter, with what accountability God knows, decided whether you could be verified or not. So I think, an effort to sort of, verify you, taking a certain amount, giving you certain more privileges, that's one aspect. And I agree with Jain, you just can't blanket try and do something like this, because everyone came to your platform. Your platform became popular because everyone came and used it. A lot of people have given credence to your platform because they used your platform to give out the first information, like earthquakes. Some of the fastest message of earthquake comes through Twitter and all. So likewise, from government functionaries and everything in this world of all fake news and misinformation that's flowing. So I think, all of a sudden taking a call to blanket charge a certain amount, be it anything for any country, I don't think, that really solves the larger question that you are asking.
Of credibility.
The larger question that, or the answer to that, lies in some of the efforts that governments are taking. Everyone criticized the government of India when it brought out the rules last year in February about, how do you see greater responsibility and due diligence from the intermediaries. So much of, it's like a cabal brigade going around that, free speech is going to be throttled. Everyone is going to be going after this platform. These platforms will die out. Twitter itself, went into a kind of a fight with the government of India, a sovereign government trying to bring in laws and regulations, being challenged by a platform who has his own few individuals trying to take a call on content moderation. So we have had that very nasty, I would say, episode where we have come from. Now, today, if you see, since May last year when we are implementing this and all, what has been the track record of the government? And more so, I say that if the Europeans, who are quite stringent when it comes to data protection and all any aspect around data and the way they find many of these big platforms,
Okay.
and all the freedom of speech and all that they espouse, if they have also considered those same yardstick of due diligence and greater responsibility, so I think the world is moving in that direction, that there has to be, you cannot leave it to the platforms, their self-regulation doesn't work.
Okay.
You have to have a mechanism where this kind of town halls have a larger regulatory approach. After all, democracies are allowing these platforms to function.
Okay.
So when they are functioning, there has to be a certain level of regulation, and I think the governments of the day definitely have
and they will have to be in sync with the laws of the land as
Absolutely.
well. Jain, on this aspect, would you also agree with what Subimal ji is pointing out, which is largely being discussed and debated and pointed out also, that these platforms, the social media platforms, ultimately their self-regulation might not be enough to deal with the issue of credibility, to deal with the issue of misinformation, fake news, or hate speeches, or content moderation specifically. It will have to be governed by some sort of regulation, maybe a loosely put in place regulations, but some direction.
No, their self-regulation works only as long as it is politically and commercially convenient to them. So, you look at a company like Twitter, a private enterprise with 5 viceroys sitting in a Californian boardroom, challenging laws passed by a sovereign parliament of India and refusing to comply with lawful orders of Indian government. So I think on that count, Elon Musk has been very clear. He's been saying that Twitter has to be law enforcement compliant in local geographies, especially in democracies, where if elected government is passing some orders or putting some minute restrictions on free speech to deal with the local law and order problems, Twitter has to comply with that, because people have elected that government for the safeguards of society, and Twitter has to comply with the laws of that local geography. On that count, I think the government might find a very a long compliant time with Twitter. But the problem here is that, look, if you look at the regulations, I think within Indian laws, as Subimal was pointing out, we now have a provision in IT rules where a person who is willing to get verified on any social media platform voluntarily can ask for it, and a platform cannot refuse to verify him. Now, I think we have till now not enforced that provision, but I think given this commercial aspect of this verification, I think we'll have to dealing verification with blue ticks. I think blue ticks are eminence symbols, and verification maybe in some other form, maybe an orange tick or some other mark of verification to do with the verification. So I think if Twitter starts charging money for verification, I think it is going to open a Pandora box. What about Facebook and Instagram? And suppose if Indian citizens, as per law, if they were all asked for the verification to all the social media platforms, the hell will fall loose. And I think that Elon Musk is setting cat among pigeons. And it'll be very interesting to watch whether the blue bird has been freed or the blue bird is now going to do more, bird shit over in democracies.
Okay. That'll be very interesting to see. In fact, that's what we are trying to understand here. Khushbu, your views there on the credibility aspect, on the regulation aspect as well. Because both things will have to go hand in hand, as Jain and Subimal both of them are pointing out.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with it, and hence we got our IT rules and in 2020, last year 2021, and thereafter we got amendment in the IT rules, which is as recent, where we did the last episode, which specifically incorporated things like misinformation, fake news, disinformation, misrepresentation of products, false information of person or an entity. These are the things which are included. If these are the things which are happening on your platform, then the accounts have to be liable for it, or be transparent about it, and take down or provide information to the law enforcement in India whenever it is being requested, or courts whenever it is requested. And in failure to do so, there is a committee that has been formed, the grievance redressal mechanism, which has been formed in case people are not satisfied with the act of these platforms. And after that also, if not, then is where our law comes in place, that you will lose your safe harbor protection, and you will be treated as a common entity like any other, being party to the crime if the crime has happened. So this is the first time. Before this, we were just talking about any crime that has happened which are punishable under IPC. But today is the state where we specifically are including fake news, disinformation, and these kind of things, looking into the aspect that there are a lot of bots which are happening, which are there are automations, there is computational propaganda which is happening over the platform, and it's not just Elon Musk who has raised this issue of bots are existing on the platforms, but even Jack Dorsey has talked about bots in the past, and there have been a lot of facts or evidences that has come out or that has surfaced which show that these platforms are practically being driven a lot by bots, and there are computational propaganda happening on the platforms. Okay. So I think it's not just the policy which is governed by the company, because we cannot leave a large area being governed by the company itself, because the first thing the company has to look into is the business, is the volume, is the money it is generating, and the second comes is the humanity and users good. So I think it's the country that we entrust, it's our government that we entrust, that they have to safeguard citizens' rights and have to protect citizens and their rights. Hence, I think companies' policy along with rules and regulations, a light touch regulation which we have seen in 2021, and then amendment thereafter with 2022, or the regulations which are there in Singapore and other areas which are also dealing with algorithms and bots and likewise. So I think that's where we stand today, and we have to keep on evolving in this stage. Also, there has to be a proper definition with regard to what happens in case of using of bots. What are the punishments which are there? So I think that's also one area we have to talk, or we have to incorporate it in our legislation that using of bots, what are the punishments in case a computational propaganda is happening by an organization or an entity?
Okay.
What kind of punishments is one can incur out because of that? So I think these are also areas one has to focus on, or the country has to
Indeed.
focus on and bring into a legislation or a rules, something which we have bought in the recent IT amendment in 2020.
Indeed, Khushbu, these all are the major points there which you've referred to, and of course, there will be a lot of evolution which is yet to be seen, both in terms of the social media platforms and the regulatory activities there as well. Thank you so much, Khushbu, Subimal and Jain as well for joining us and sharing your views and inputs, as our experts were pointing out in detail various dynamic changes which we're witnessing in the ecosystem of social media platforms and the regulatory affairs therein as well. We'll keep a close watch on all these developments and keep on bringing you all the details and come back again with a different topic. Till then, keep watching Sansad Television. Thank you.